guys, it's Nasim here. Now, I've been using the Apple Watch Series 3 for about 4 years now, and after using it day in and day out, there was one statement that kept coming to my mind that I feel sums up the Apple Watch Series 3 pretty well. And that statement is, I think that the Apple Watch Series 3 is the perfect watch for someone who has never experienced an Apple Watch. Because when you think about it, the Apple Watch has always been a pretty simple watch. It has a very simple WatchOS, it has very simple ways to communicate, and it has a very simple look, which is perfect for someone who's a first-time smartwatch user. And even though you can argue that watches like the Apple Watch Series 6 or even the Apple Watch Series 7 are the better watches to get, I would say that if you're someone who has never had an Apple Watch before, then you're not really 100% sure that you will like it or not. So your best bet is to get the cheapest Apple Watch possible. So if you do like it, then you can say that you got a great watch for a very cheap price. And if you don't like it, you can say that you didn't spend as much money, so you didn't take as big of a hit. And the main reason I will recommend a new smartwatch user to get the Apple Watch Series 3 is not only for its price, but for the simple fact that it's very similar to every single one of the newer Apple Watches. And even though the Apple Watch Series 6 and 7 are better, at the core of it all, they still are the same watch. The Series 7 has a bigger screen, it's slightly faster, slightly more powerful, but the experience is exactly the same. Everything that the average person does on the Apple Watch Series 7, the same person can do the exact same thing on the Apple Watch Series 3. If you have an Apple Watch Series 3, you can still make calls, you can still text, you can still track your fitness and health data, and you can still experience the Apple Watch software. And that's why I say that this is the perfect watch for someone who is a new smartwatch user, because you get the same exact experience without having to throw away more money. But besides that, I wanted to let you guys know exactly why I think that the Apple Watch Series 3 is the perfect watch to get in the year of 2022. And the first reason that I think that the Series 3 is an amazing watch after long-term use is because it has an amazing WatchOS experience. Now, one of my favorite things that I loved about the OS experience was its health tracker. Like right here, you can see the 3 rings. There's the calorie ring that lets you know how close you are to hitting your calorie goal. The exercise ring that lets you keep track of how many minutes you're exercising. And finally, the standing ring, which is pretty trash in my opinion, but it lets you know how long you've been standing all day. And the health feature on this watch really helped me overall be much healthier because every day I wanted to close my rings so I could feel somewhat more accomplished. And there were even days where I can get an extra workout in so I could close out my calorie ring. Or even my off days where I was doing nothing but chilling and I would end up working out so that I could try to close some of my rings. And I feel like Apple did a really great job with the health app because there's nothing more satisfying than completing a goal and seeing those bars fill up. Another great thing about the health app is that you can have competition with other users who have an Apple Watch. Like right here, you can see that it tracks not only my progress, but it also tracks my dad's progress. And there was a period of time where I wanted to beat him at every single competition, but at the time he was working a lot and I wasn't, so I basically had no chance. But it's the little things like that that made the health app much more enjoyable, which results in me not only living a healthier lifestyle, but using the watch every single day. And another thing that I liked about the WatchOS was the fact that it has so many features that made my life overall easier. Like for instance, I'm the type of person that doesn't use my phone or any other alarm to wake me up because of the extremely loud sounds. But with my Apple Watch, I set an alarm on it and it wakes me up by tapping me on the wrist, which is way more peaceful. I wake up feeling more energized, more fresh, and it just makes waking up feel much less of a hassle. And the only problem with using your Apple Watch as your alarm clock is the fact that you have to sleep with it on, and that gets really uncomfortable. But after a while you get used to it, so it's not as bad. Now the next thing that I loved about my Apple Watch Series 3 was the fact that it made receiving notifications way more easier. And what I mean by that is before I had my Apple Watch, I would get a lot of notifications that were either spam or unimportant. And a lot of times I would feel my phone vibrate and pull it out thinking it was an important notification, but it wouldn't, and I would have to put my phone back in my pocket. But once I got my Apple Watch, all I had to do was lift my wrist up and see the notification. And if it was important, I would take my phone out. But if it wasn't, I could simply ignore the message with minimal effort. And the last and final feature that I really liked about my Apple Watch after using it for 4 years is the fact that I could make phone calls and text messages just by using my watch, which was really helpful in certain situations. Like whenever I was at work or someone calls me, but I'm not able to pull my phone out, all I had to do was decline and leave them a message. Or whenever I was going on a run and someone would text me, all I had to do was use my voice messaging to get back to them when I was done. And there were many situations where my Series 3 made certain situations easier that would have been difficult had I not had one. And the final thing that I loved about my Apple Watch Series 3 after using it day in and day out was the amazing battery. Now, if I'm being honest, the battery on the Series 3 was one of my favorite parts about the watch in terms of hardware. I would usually end my days with about 20% battery left, which was pretty great on an older device. And the only thing that I didn't like about the battery was the charging speeds were pretty slow, but I'm not complaining too much since it is an older battery. But overall, it's a really good battery. It's not good enough to the point where it will last you 2 days like on the newer Apple Watches, but it is good enough to last you throughout the day, which was pretty great for an older watch. And there it is, you guys. My final review with the Apple Watch Series 3, 4 years after its release. Now, let me know that in the comments. Are you a first-time smartwatch user? Let me know down below. And if you guys made it to the end of this video, I would like to say thank you for sticking around. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe. It will be very appreciated. And as far as social media, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. And I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.